Good morning and good afternoon to our audience from all around the world to this eighth edition of Perspectives, the Leadership Webinar Series, where we speak to eminent leaders across the travel and hospitality ecosystem on their journeys, views on the current crisis, and how do they see the future unfold. We will be recording the session for the benefit of some viewers who haven't been able to log in due to last minute work. This is your host, Apurv Chamadia, Chief Revenue Officer at RateGain. And joining me is a very esteemed personality, Mr. Ajay Bakaya, who's the Managing Director of Sarovar Hotels and Resorts India. Let me introduce Mr. Bakaya to you. A leader is one who shows the way, a seasoned hotelier, a trailblazer in hospitality, and instrumental in the growth of Sarovar Hotels. He champions the mid-market, driving brand vision to reality. Mr. Bakaya has played an integral role in this phenomenal growth story of Sarovar since its early inception, with beginning from a shared office table and the leadership of a single hotel to now what is a 90-plus hotel chain. An alumni of Cornell ISEC, France, Mr. Bakaya is a product of the Oberoi School of Hotel Management and a science graduate from the Delhi University. He's worked extensively in France, Scotland, Australia, Africa, and India, a globetrotter and an avid cyclist. Ajay finished cycling the Tour de Nilgiris in 2017, covering more than 1,000 kilometers. His passion is to stay fit, be healthy, and he really values the importance of having patience, positive energy, and discipline. Mr. Bakaya has been recognized as the Entrepreneur of the Year by FHRAI and has received the prestigious Hall of Fame award by Hotelier India. He was also the CEO of the Year at Hotelier India Awards 2017. Sarovar is now a very big brand with more than 90 hotels in over 50 destinations. Some of their brands are Sarovar Premier, Sarovar Portico, Humetel, Golden Tulip. Additionally, Sarovar portfolio also includes about a dozen Radisson properties which they manage. Thank you so much, Mr. Bakaya, for joining us and showing a willingness to share your thoughts and insights with the audience logging in from all over Asia.
Thank you, Apurv. Thank you for those very flattering words. Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to chat with you. I'm happy to use this time gainfully.
Thank you. So for audience all around the globe, my backdrop is not real life. It's a virtual backdrop because I like doing this, as you would have known from my previous chats. So Mr. Bakaya, you've been a career hotelier and you've really seen the growth of hospitality in India and starting from a single hotel and creating a massive group. So when you look back at the journey, what are some of the really big milestones which you think you and the group has crossed on its way? I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, when we started this Sarovar journey, it's now 25 odd years ago for me. It was a very different landscape in India, and though we are running predominantly mid-market hotels at the moment, our backgrounds, both me and our now executive chairman, Mr. Madhok, our backgrounds were luxury. I had worked for about 15 years in luxury segment, Oberoi and with Nico in Australia, etc. And Mr. Madhok had a 25-year Oberoi background. So we came from that, and we came from running large hotels. So when we got together in India, you either had the very fancy hotels, or you had rubbish, and there was very little in between. So there was that space, and we said, look, I remember the conversation. I had started a business venture in Holland, which didn't work out, and I was at a loss as to what to do next. And when I chatted with Mr. Madhok, and he said, look, if the two of us put together can't run hotels in this country, then nobody can. Why don't you come in and we'll give it a shot? So that's how we started off. And fortunately for us, I think the timing was very, very right, because particularly in that 60, 80, 100, 120 room hotel size, and in specifically in that 3-star, 4-star, 4.5-star market, there were very few players. There were people who were franchising properties without managing any standards, or there were people running the show themselves. So it worked well for us. There were initially difficult times. I think the initial milestones were, we started with an office and a table and 4 chairs and 4 people sitting around that office. And it wasn't our office. We were part of somebody else's office. And I remember as much as that when I signed my first agreement, which was for the Park Plaza in Ludhiana some 24 years ago, I had to bribe the IT man from the main office to put my printing on priority. So we went through a lot of that. We went through different offices. We went through bigger size. But I think what paid well for us was that we had a certain reputation in the market. In the hospitality business, everyone knows you. You are 2 or 3 phone calls away from people figuring out your entire life history. And we had the integrity, we had the delivery, and we started small with Goa and Agra, and then Bombay Marine Plaza, which gave us all the visibility. So I think from a visibility point of view, from coming of age, Marine Plaza Mumbai provided us that platform, and it was our platform and our backbone for some years before we broad-based ourselves. And that was highly visible. We had all of 68 suites to sell. We exceeded all possible expectations. And even our critics kind of said, yeah, these guys, let's wake up and look at what these guys are doing. They're doing something right. Then we grew from there. We were originally very closely associated with the original company, Parkin International, who sold out to a real estate company and then sold out to Radisson. So the parent company became Carlson Hotels and Radisson Hotels. And I think till the year 2000, for the first 5 or 6 years, we were very closely associated with them. And then the next huge milestone was that Carlson had certain requirements on software, etc., which were expensive. And a lot of our owners said, look, we know you guys, we trust you guys, and we don't want to spend any more money in the mid-market on buying software. Can we just work with you? And there was nothing in the book that prevented us from doing that. So we came out with the brands Sarovar Premier and Sarovar Portico somewhere around 2000, 2002. That's where the big journey started. We said, let's build our own brands. Before that, we didn't have a brand that was ours, or we didn't have anything clearly marked out and communicated as ours. We were handling other brands. So that was the beginning of the journey. Other milestones were the development of the Jeffries pub brand out of Marine Plaza, which was very, very successful for about 10 years or so. Oriental Blossom as a Chinese restaurant. And just digressing a little bit, we on a chance phone call and an accidental meeting, we started what is now a very large institutional hospitality division. We manage 6 MBAs, 4 IITs, HUL in Mumbai, HAL in Bangalore, and ISBs, both the ISBs in Mali and Hyderabad. And that just started from nowhere. So that's another vertical which we support. Once we came of age, then we got stronger and stronger. And I think once you go past that first 20, 30, 40 hotels, the rest becomes a little easier because more and more owners see you, hear of you, and are happy to work with you. We are now at 90, and I'm hoping that we hit the 100 milestone. Well, it's probably going to be 2021 now. We were very confident we do it in 2020, but it's going to be delayed a few months. We have now taken over formally and officially the development of the Golden Tulip brands in India and the region. And we are looking carefully at all the hotels that currently have the flag and seeing what we can carry forward, where all we can add value. So I think there'll be some hotels that come on board and add to the numbers anyways. We've taken over the Jaipur hotels, Calcutta and Goa is next, and we are talking to a few others. So those would be ready-made operating hotels that come to the portfolio. So 100 hotels is our next landmark, and I hope we get there soon. Apurv?
Absolutely. Mr. Bakaya, I'm sure you will and Sarovar will. We are very proud of, as people in the industry, of what Sarovar has achieved. And you're a leading light for many entrepreneurs who want to start their hospitality business. So we've followed, Sarovar's moves into Africa with a lot of curiosity. And you've spearheaded Sarovar's Africa development in Nairobi, in Dar es Salaam, with a goal to replicate the India story in this whole continent full of promise. So what really attracted Sarovar towards Africa, and what do you see the potential there, considering that, COVID would one day go away, or pre-COVID?
Yeah, so Apur, great question. I'll just take 1 minute and go backwards for a second, then come back to Africa. Africa is very close to my heart. When we sat down in 1995, me and Mr. Madhok, we said to each other, what's going to be different between us and anybody who has a fax machine at home and has run a good hotel? Our whole claim to fame was the fact that we had managed hotels well. But beyond that, we were no experts either in being entrepreneurs or being or managing hotels for other people. So you're mentioning about anybody else, new entrepreneurs coming in the field. We said to ourselves, number one, who's putting the money? It's the owners. We are developing a management company. Owner has to be king. You have to start thinking as owners do, and you have to start feeling when he gets hurt. And let's build long-term relationships. That was number one. Owner is still the king in Sarovar Hotels, will always remain so. And anybody who wants to develop a management company or a service company must realize the fact that the key customer is the owner. He's the one who's putting in all the money. And his concerns are paramount and go beyond all thoughts that you might have of professional hotel operations. Number two, we said we must have key people. You can't run a company without good resources. So right from day one, we went with a corporate chef, a corporate housekeeper, a small IT setup, and a very strong training setup. And we said, look, this is what we are offering our owners. We're going to offer them what they can't afford to attract and retain. And we got some very senior people, also in engineering services. So that was number two. And three is we said we must have the independent ability to bring business to our hotels. At the end of the day, you can give all Einstein theories to owners on how good you are in processes and systems and hire and fire and training. And he looks at you and says to you, all that is beautiful. Where is the money? Show me the money. Show me my business. So those were the three pillars for Sarovar. They've remained unchanged over the last 25 years. I reckon whatever we do in the future, these three will remain firm and solid. Now, moving on to Africa. Well, I won't give you years because that makes me look very old, but a long time ago, I packed my bags and went to Liberia in West Africa to run a hotel. I was very young. I was not 30 at that point of time and had an opportunity to run a hotel on my own. I don't think I was ready and qualified to manage a hotel as a GM at that age, but I'd done my MBA in France. I thought I was equipped, and I got into the wilds of Africa in Liberia, which is it was always a challenging situation. It's perhaps still similar, and you had a country that worked very differently from any norms that you had seen in life before, and the lesson there was that if you don't adapt to a new country or a new place, you're lost. If you expect to carry forward what you believe is right or what you practice elsewhere into a new domain, you don't have a future. People don't change for you, cultures don't change for you, and certainly countries don't change for you. So I developed the ability to adapt, and I realized the huge potential that Africa has. Now that was many years ago. Today we've been in Africa for the last 15 years. It was a chance meeting with an owner who was staying at the Marine Plaza in Bombay. He said, I want you to come and run my hotel. So we went into Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Mr. Madhok spearheaded that for many years. Then we took over. We ran the hotel for 20 odd years. And we are well known in Tanzania now. And then similarly, leads came up and we went into Kenya. We're operating in Kenya and Lusaka. In Lusaka, Zambia, we have the finest all-suite hotel in the country. It's number one by far. Beats any of the big brands by miles. And we have projects now in Ethiopia. We have projects in Somaliland. So we've been a little foolhardy, a little brave, a little adventurous in where all we are willing to go. And I think that is a continent. It's 54 countries, so it's and one very different from the other. You can't put it together as in one bundle. But that's a continent that shows a tremendous amount of promise. So far, we have only been in city hotels that are safe in terms of occupancy and rates. We haven't gone to the bush and to the lodges and to the wilderness. But we spend a lot of time in Africa. It's that much more difficult to convince an owner in Africa saying, we are based in India, but we do a great job in running your hotel. But we managed to reach a certain stage, and we hope to build more on that. There is a huge amount of potential in English-speaking Africa, where we are dominant. There is a large amount of Indian origin money. So that's one part of it. And now as we go along, we're better known as people who run good hotels. So we would want to build on that story. The advantage with Africa is that you have people moving from Africa towards the Middle East and India. You have people moving from India towards the Middle East and Africa. There's a steady flow of talent. There's a steady flow of capital. And there's a steady flow of guests. In all our Africa hotels, we have at least 15% Indian business. So it's 15% Indian, very typically the same sort of number from China and the Far East. And then the rest of it is divided. And I think an Indian company that has the resilience and the wherewithal to go through the challenges and an immense amount of patience, will do well in the long run.
What about South Africa, Mr. Bakaya? Is that also on cards?
South Africa is very highly westernized and fairly strongly developed as an economy and as a hotel system. So while we had one or two invitations to go and look at places there, we didn't go that far. We also turned down very positive offers in Francophone Africa and in places like Mozambique, which work on Portuguese. Because really, when we go to these hotels, we take a strong GM and a strong team from India, and they understand us, we understand them. It's easy to keep our things rolling all along. If I had to go look into France and bring in a French-speaking GM, I'd have to overcome that culture. And if the local country speaks another language, I think we would be at a disadvantage. So no, to answer your question, we haven't looked strongly at South Africa. Maybe down the line, but I think English-speaking particularly East Africa, Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Uganda are the big markets, and then going west into Ghana and beyond.
Are you also looking east at Southeast Asia and other economies?
Again, I find places like Singapore, etc., very highly developed with systems, with people, with lots of companies, both homegrown and international, based there. We've looked at Malaysia, but things haven't fructified. Honestly, we are open to any opportunity.
Excellent. I think there are asset owners also on the call. For them, it would be really exciting to hear that.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. And at the moment, we are in discussions in Bangladesh. We had several discussions in Nepal. But I tend to talk about things once they actually sign and seal. A little bit like the old Soviet Union.
So, Mr. Bakaya, Sarovar Hotels caters to primarily three segments. So, Sarovar Premier plays in the upscale 5-star segment. Sarovar Portico caters to the 3 to 4-star mid-market segment, and Home Hotel to the budget 3-star category. So, how has been the impact of this whole crisis on these three different categories with terms to ARR and occupancy?
In terms of ARRs, everyone is equally hit. I think we are taking a beating from about a 20% to a 50% odd, depending on where you are, what the circumstances are, what kind of business is there to in the market to pick up. So 20 to 40, sometimes more. So ARR wise, everyone's equally badly hit. Occupancy wise, the more expensive properties or the luxury properties, the 5-star space, will take longer to recover, because it typically means older travelers or more people more established in life. It means larger companies, and I think that will take a little longer to respond. People at the middle of the pyramid or lower down the pyramid are more open to taking chances, to traveling, to moving on with life, and they're also younger and healthier, I suppose. So I think the mid market would respond faster, will recover a little faster. Also, the fixed costs for the larger properties are higher, so it takes you that much more time to break even operationally and move on in life. So I think the mid-market is a better place to recover.
So what do you think, like when you think about recovery strategies and growth coming back, are your strategies different for all these three segments, or there are some common things which you're doing across segments versus?
Lots of common threats, and we say we can't just sit back and say business is bad, what can we do? So we've looked at all sorts of things. So some of the discussions we've had one is with strong restaurant brands saying, look, here is a hotel, phenomenal location, take over my restaurant and in-room dining operations, all yours. I have a kitchen there, bring in your team, sleep in, and let's work on a revenue share. So under discussion. We've talked to various people saying you need an office for a day, a week, a month, no deposits, no advances. I am happy to modify a guest room for you. Again, I have prime locations in cities, and I have everything to offer you in terms of addresses from fancy 5-star to mid-market 3-star. And we'll bring in the internet and the teas and coffees and all those things, as many as you need. So again, in discussions, some advanced discussions. We are in Punjab for one of our hotels in touch with a huge wedding tent house operator who bring in all the weddings, typically saying, I give you my banquets, run the show, bring in the multiple functions, and let's work on a revenue share. I am saying to people more and more, buy today, at very special prices, and we hold prices for 15 months till 30th of September 2021. So, and I'm now saying to people, hey guys, get into your car and come to our hotel. We'll give you a package that involves all meals and everything else. Very, very special prices. Come take a break from home. You know, I think most young couples and kids have had enough of looking and staring at walls or staring at computer screens for school. So people are ready to move away, and we're seeing some traction in all these things. So we won't just sit back and pray for things to get better. I think it's up to us to make things better. So we're trying all sorts of things to bring in business.
Excellent. So, Mr. Bakaya, prior to COVID, as a next phase of growth, Sarovar was looking at unexplored pilgrim spots such as Katra and Jammu, Ajmer, Bodh Gaya, and there are some very interesting markets which are still underpenetrated and could be good opportunities. And I read somewhere that many new Sarovar properties were planned to open in these temple towns. Does the plan still hold good? And
yeah, very much so. Apur, we have 30 odd properties in different stages of construction. Some of them are temple and pilgrimage, some of them are not. So Bodh Gaya is open, by the way. It's a very fine hotel in about 8 acres of land, beautifully landscaped. We spent a lot of money on landscaping, 100 odd rooms, lots of open spaces, a lot of spaces for meditation, for prayer, for just being on your own, lots of water bodies. And that's open. Unfortunately, it opened at the wrong time because the majority of business in Bodh Gaya is from overseas. There are no overseas flights at the moment, but that property is open and ready. Ajmer is under progress, and yes, the project is going on. Katra, very much so. We were hoping, we're still hopeful that by October, when the major movement starts, we have a hotel that's operating. We have 2 properties in Katra, and one should be ready. As I mentioned, Somnath opened on the 1st of July, so that's a new addition to the pilgrim circuit. And we are pushing all those projects. So out of the 30 projects, probably half a dozen will get delayed by 6 months to a year. The ones that are in infancy or just starting off might get delayed a little longer, but most of the other projects are nearing completion. And yeah, Pilgrim is a large part of our circuit. We are bigger and bigger there, and we are missing 1 or 2 links, which we hope to fill up soon. But we are there, and those plans stay firm.
Excellent. So, Mr. Bakaya, I understand that 20% of your revenues come from banqueting, similar 20% from restaurants. And of course, this is pre-COVID. And Sarovar has been fantastic in building amazing brands like Geoffrey's and Oriental Blossom, which you just mentioned. So do you see a scope for these brands to also go independent outside the hotels and become like a restaurant franchise on its own?
Apur, we've sort of debated that over the last many years, and we don't see that as our strength going forward. Jeffrey's, to be honest with you, was intended in Bombay as a very exclusive membership-only club. And when we opened, the owner said, "Look, guys, we don't have the time for all that. We need money now. We need to pay the banks. Let's open the doors and see what happens." And it's an instant success. So we did replicate Jeffrey's in some of our hotels and one of the independent places too. Similarly, for Oriental Blossom, we extended beyond the original one. But then we realized that there are a lot of entrepreneurs in the market who have strength in operating restaurants, and the expertise for running independent restaurants is somewhat different from running hotels. To give you an idea, in a hotel you have a finance department, you have a housekeeping department, you have a whole lot of support services there if something goes wrong. You have somebody handling all your taxation, etc., licenses, the works, liaison. In restaurant operations, it's all under one small roof, and you've got to do everything yourself, and there's no backup available, not even storage backup available. So, and I think the restaurant business needs somebody thinking on his head every single day and saying, what's new on the menu? What special deal can I do? Which liquor company can I tie up with? So we realized that we would rather spend our energies on doing what we do best in running hotels. And while we retain these brands, they're our brands and they're registered as our brands. We don't see us spending a huge amount of energy on growing these brands outside of our hotels.
You've been actually amazing at brand building, whether it's Geoffrey's or Oriental Blossom or Sarovar. All of them have become landmark brands. So amazing work done by you and your whole team.
And by our communications agency, ENZ. They have helped us out in building these brands.
Absolutely. So, 65% of your group revenue is generated from business clientele and 35% from leisure. Considering that business travel might not pick up soon, and some analysts and pundits are saying that leisure might be faster to recover, your business mix will change, and what are your plans around the whole revenue management strategy for these segments?
I'm part of the analysts and pundits as much as I'm part of the owners and the operators. But so far, that analysis and prediction hasn't really come true. In our experience so far, the leisure hasn't shown the sort of pickup that we anticipated. I think the big test for India is Goa, which opened yesterday, which means really it's going to come of age in the next 2 to 4 weeks or 6 weeks. And if Goa shows traction, then the theory is proven correct that leisure will pick up faster. But what we've seen so far is that the pace both for leisure and for business is more or less the same. And at the moment, it's both are sluggish. We would push on both fronts. We are pushing very, very, very actively on both fronts. And there are demands. End of the day, businesses are not going to work from home permanently. They do need to get back to interact on a person-to-person basis. Work from home is a great concept in most parts of the world. Not everyone in India has a home big enough to give you a quiet, comfortable room or a quiet, comfortable space to work from, without a kid crying in the background or a hawker selling something through the window. So all those things one have to keep in mind. So I think work from home is limited to certain people who can do it and certain others who can't. And our strategy is to push on both fronts very, very, very actively. We see a lot of queries for weddings. Perhaps the fact that you can do smaller weddings now is pushing more people into hotel weddings because the overall cost drops dramatically. So we are seeing lots and lots of queries and actual bookings materialize there. But the numbers are small because so far the government says, the ceiling limit is 50. And we are working with the government on trying to change that in terms of the size of a function should be in proportionate with the area that I have, not 50 as a blanket piece. And we are very confident that will change across the country in the next month or so. So to answer your question, we are pushing both fronts and we have strategies in both areas. We're reaching out to people with various things which are really saying, leave your wallet and come along and we'll take care of things right now. And all sorts of packages, offers, enticements which say to people, spend a little now, you can use it down the line, get out of your house, take a break. And if you have work, we are the best people for it. We've taken every possible step for safety. It's well documented, well videographed and documented if you want to see the things that we're doing out there. And even for people that are going to reopen their offices, a lot of them have people coming from different parts of the country, different parts of large city metropolises. And we're saying, come to the hotel, we'll set up your working office for you for a week or 2 weeks till you feel everyone's safe, everyone's okay, and then move into your office. And we see a demand building there too. So I think I see in India, as quarantine restrictions are eased in different parts of the country, in different states, and people can travel more freely, business travel will probably pick up at the same kind of speed as leisure. That's my feeling today.
Thank you, Mr. Bakaya. So clearly, WFH for you is work from a hotel and not work from home.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, you have safety, you have security, you have coffee, you have meals as you want them. You pick up the phone and they're there. So there is a lot to be said about it, and the rates are the rate offers have been unseen. Those sorts of offers for many years. So I think there's good opportunity here, as long as people feel that they are in a secure environment. And honestly, we opened our office. This is week 5 for us now. 5 weeks ago. We haven't had a problem. We're operating at 50-60% strength, sometimes 65. We're operating in temperatures of 26 to 30 degrees because that's what the law says it should be. We sweat a little, we move around, but we maintain social distancing. We do the masks, we do everything else that is required to be done, and we're okay. I started travel as soon as I was allowed to travel. So I've done my Jaipur bit, I've done the Chandigarh and Punjab travel, I've done Agra. And as long as we have more opportunity, we'll travel into Uttarakhand and Roorkee and Dehradun and Mussoorie and Haridwar and all those places. So I feel comfortable. I feel, honestly, my personal opinion, and that's not largely broadcast all over Sarovar, is life's going to go on. We're not going to be living in home for a year or two. this COVID business is going to carry on for a long time. And we were one of the first ones to say, doctors want to stay in hotels, we'll take them. Hospitals need help, we'll give you help. Vande Bharat, please come to me. I need your business. And I think whoever was first off the block benefited from the business. And a lot of people are now converting because it is a large chunk of business. Apur?
Absolutely, Mr. Bakaya. Traditionally hotels have had room and food and beverage and ancillary revenues, and revenue management has been very focused on those segments. How do you optimize and maximize the room revenue in F&B and banqueting? And now you have many other ancillaries opening up. So right from giving people office space to delivering food, traditionally hotels above 3-4 star have never been big on food delivery, to some hotels like Hyatt doing laundry. So would love to hear your thoughts around total revenue management, on how do you maximize overall hotel revenue, and what are some of the best practices which Sarovar is following?
Okay, I think the very candid answer from a hotelier of many years is that hotels, and I say almost without exception, have done poorly on their food and beverage offerings by and large. They have been great in terms of running hotels and putting people in beds and creating the right environment for customers to sit and dine, etc. But the focus has always been very strongly on the accommodation front, because that's the most profitable part of the business. And it's direct and clean to the bottom line once you've made your initial investment. And for the last 10 to 15 years, we have been challenged very strongly by independent restaurant operators. And so some of us have woken up, some of us are still in slumber and in the process of waking up, saying if you can't provide the kind of innovation and presentations in food that the guy next door is doing, and there's plenty of guys next door, then you're going to lose business. And gradually there is more innovation and more passion being thrown back into restaurants. Otherwise, the feeling was, look, he's going to stay in the room, he's going to have at least breakfast with you, and he's going to eat and drink and end it in there. So let's focus on the room. That part has changed. Now you bring up a very strong dynamic point of asset management. Considering COVID, everyone says, hello, now how am I going to get my business? My banqueting is hurting, my restaurants are hurting even more. How do I get my business? And everyone's on the delivery bandwagon. And I think delivery is a good opportunity for you to show that you have brains and you can excel. Delivery is restricted to a radius of 2, 3, 4, maximum 5 kilometers.
5 kilometers, yes.
It's in the first kilometer or two. And you have to change your offerings to suit that environment, irrespective of what you're catering to for people that are coming in from the rest of the world or the rest of the country. Delivery means I need to cater to the local taste very strongly. If I don't, I've lost it.
Yeah.
And everyone is on delivery, every single person on delivery. So we have in our hotels reimagined our delivery offerings and gone out to people with what locally sells. We are re-engineering and re-changing every week to say this is not happening, this works, this doesn't work, this is what they want. Change more spice, less spice, etc. Diverse offerings. So we are working in that area a lot. Now, I think every single hotel in the country is working on those lines now. As long as they're not in an island far removed from anything local, so they can't deliver, they're doing that. Extending services like laundry, etc. I think innovative, great thought, great idea. Of course, that's a niche segment, so it depends on where you're located and how many people in a certain income bracket you have as potential customers. But I think food deliveries is certainly a good and important part of it. Hotel rooms as office spaces is a strong potential. Banquet halls as office spaces, if banquets are restricted to 100, 200 people, is another opportunity. And the good part is that hotels are in very good locations. So from an address point of view, it works brilliantly. And really, some people might want to be in a luxury environment where you're spending 500, 700, 800 bucks for a cup of coffee. Some might say, look, I have 20, 30, 40 people coming in and out and meeting me every day. I'd rather be in a more economical or a more practical environment than that. So there are opportunities for everyone in these areas. And I think all of us are going to be working overtime to encash them.
With a lot of SOPs being released around hotel operations in the post-COVID scenario, it would have meant a lot of retraining for your ops teams and staff. What are some of the operational measures you've taken in all your hotels to ensure health, safety, and hygiene?
The good part is that we have had time to train people because a lot of hotels are shut down for 2 or 3 months. We have a core training team within Sarovar itself, and we've used those trainers to train to the hilt. Initially all online, and now more physically. They're moving around as movement is permitted. We are doing everything that everybody else is doing. So you have the matting that you put your feet on before you enter the hotel, which is sprayed regularly and kept moist with hypochlorite solution. You have the sanitizers all over the place. You can think of it, dream of it. It's there everywhere. You have elevator sanitized. You have we are now moving in and already putting in place in 2 or 3 or 4 hotels the touchless technology. So if Apur Shamaria is walking in, he's filled in all his res forms and et cetera, in advance. He's filled in his likes and dislikes, whether he wants to see people, not see people, interact, not interact, what meals, etc. in advance. So when you come to the reception, I hand over a key to you and you go straight to your room. And similarly on checkout. So that process is in place. In fact, the reception desk, as we know it, is probably going to disappear in the next few years. We have gone to great extents to sanitize our kitchen and back of the house areas, because that's the biggest area for possible contamination, since you're dealing with meats and raw food being processed all the time. So strong measures to sanitize, gloves, masks, the works. Sanitization of employees when they're walking in, because our employees are living outside, a lot of them, and coming to the hotel every day. So the contamination risk is high. So honestly, anything and everything that's being done and that's being thought of, and we look all over the place every day for anything new that people might be doing. We have videos in every hotel on the processes, so we showcase the process while we're making the reservations. We are passing on assurance all the time, and we are not only conducting training sessions, but we are going around now with trainers with checklists and checking every hotel that is sending you pictures on a everyday basis of what's happening in those hotels.
Mr. Bakaya, a lot of digital hotels very proudly talk about a large part of their business coming from their own booking engine and mobile app, and particularly hotels right now are very challenged. So do you think post-COVID Sarovar's distribution mix would change, and is there anything different which you would be doing? Is there anything radical?
I think, Apurv, as the world changes, the distribution will also change. So far, to give you a broad breakup, we still deliver 25% of our hotels business offline, which is our sales teams out in the market. And we still operate 13 sales offices in the country, which are spaces in cities. Our space is not dependent on any one single hotel. And that 25 is a high number, probably the highest of any group in the country. So we don't want to lose that advantage. We are keeping offline active. But I think over a period of time, more and more will transition to online. And yes, every player in the distribution chain, from online travel agents, from our traditional travel agents, from our offline people, to more and more people playing on the internet and the digital space. We are covering that. Our own website produces little, and that's the case for a lot of hotel companies. That the website is probably the single largest scope of growth potential. And we are working overtime on improving it. We've doubled, tripled the numbers from last year to this year, but I think the scope is to multiply it many more. So yeah, we're working on the net space, and we're working with various partners across the country and across the globe to make sure we can maximize the digital space. We're still learning.
Let me switch topics on you. So when you think about all these assurance measures Sarovar has taken, what is your marketing strategy to really communicate this sense of trust, pride, hygiene? And are you thinking about like a big campaign to roll it out? Has that happened?
My thinking is, first of all, I always look at my guests as guests in my home. And my thought is my guest, my employee, and myself must not only feel secure, but know that they can sleep in peace, and all the safety measures that are possible have been taken care of. We make sure people are walking the talk. We make sure people are communicating on a daily basis on checklists saying, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, and here's a picture, here's a picture, here's a picture. So we are not going out to audit companies and saying, come audit us. We are doing everything that an expert hotelier can do, and we are self-auditing ourselves. We are communicating by virtue of actual physical pictures and videos to our customers at point of making reservations. On our website, we are strongly portraying all of that. And with all our partners, we're saying this is what we're doing. So we are talking to our customers, and I think at every single step, there is a good feel that Sarovar is more than taking care of things and is more than worried about not only customers, but also employees and all our associates, suppliers that come and deliver things to us. So we're taking care of every possible channel to make sure that we don't mess up.
So a big elephant in the room question for you now. A lot of people are talking about pricing because usually revenue management has been done with historical data, historical pricing, demand compression, competitive pricing, STR reports. A lot of that science is gone because everybody's starting from ground zero. So what do you think about pricing? Should it be aggressive and people should drop their rates, or should they hold on? And
the key here is we are not in control, and we need to realize that as we are not in control of our inventories. So while this is not the Sahi Jawab or the perfect answer from a hotelier, I think the market will decide pricing. We can fool ourselves into believing that we're going to control pricing, but that's never really true. It would be suicidal for us to just keep dropping prices. At the end of the day, everybody loses out. But I think to some extent, at the moment, it's a free play, and the buyer knows that he has options. He doesn't need to make many advanced bookings and things like that. And so we are working on loyalty. We've already gone out to people and said, look, you spent let's say a couple of crores on my hotel last year as a large international company. 2020 is gone or negotiated already, but I'm offering you for 2021 a 20% off from what you spent in 2019. Pay me something now and enjoy that benefit. I think we would need to be aggressive. I'm not going to fool myself into believing I can hold my rates in isolation in the market and succeed. And in the end of the day, in any business, if you don't have cash flows, you're dead. So yes, prices will take a beating. There's no doubt about it. We don't need to dive headlong into saying I'm knocking off my price first and foremost. I think we need to pass on the reassurance that you're safe, you're taking care of people, you really care, you're bundling services together to provide what the guy really needs today. You're changing with the time, and yeah, I think prices will drop. I have no doubt about it.
Thank you. That's a very pragmatic answer, and I think it absolutely makes sense. You have to be fluid and you have to be open to the market scenario. So I wanted to ask you, Mr. Bakaya, for a lot of companies like you which manage hotels, do you think the supply of quality assets, do you think it would reduce in the industry with some people deciding to exit hospitality, being fearful of the condition ahead? Or do you think the supply will remain constant and in fact increase?
So Apurva, I think there's the next 5 years, 2020, 2025. From 20 to 25, you will see a little bit of a slowdown. If I have just started my project, I haven't taken any loans, I might want to wait a year or two and see how things pan out before I go ahead. If my project is more than 50% complete, I'm going to complete it anyways. My cash flows might delay things a little bit, a few months, but I'm going to complete it because I have loans to repay and I want to go cash flow positive as soon as I can. So 2025, some delays, but projects, I think 80-90% of projects will go ahead and finish. What if I have been thinking of a new investment all along, and would I around that 2025 go jump into building a hotel? I think if I was an owner, I would look at what happens between 21, 22, 23, and then make up my mind. I'm not in a hurry right now to say I'm going to go build this large project with huge capital outlays. The other angle is that a lot of assets may be on the block, and for a potential investor, it may be more convenient to buy something that is running or near running than build all of a sudden. So I think we will see some dynamic play in new supply, but difficult to answer that right now. But for the next 5 years, you would see 80, 85%, 90% of committed supply come online.
Thank you. So, Mr. Bakaya, when did you first discover the magnitude of this crisis, that it's going to get really bad? And I would love to know that.
We were slow starters and very optimistic, saying, COVID can't affect people in India. So I think really it hit us more in April, May. And it's still hitting us every day. It's realized that our estimates were perhaps a little off the mark.
So, for a leader like you have a large team, a lot of employees who rely on you for wisdom advice. How do you keep the employee motivation up with so much certainty? All kinds of different kinds of news in the market about opening, reopening, shutting down, occupancy. What are some of the measures you have taken to really keep employee morale up and high?
Well, it's a great question. I think it's a question that all hoteliers, from owners to operators to everybody associated with the business, are looking at, and it's a huge, it's a colossal challenge from a social point of view. Um, we have seen job losses in hotels. You can call it leave without pay or whatever, but as we move on, there are going to be more definite job losses, and it's going to be in the hundreds of thousands. It's not small. Yeah, that as one background. You have seen salary cuts across the board, irrespective of what anybody says to you, what the government says to you. If there are no cash flows coming in, there's only so much you can pay. So April, May, and June have seen salary cuts. July onwards, you're going to see bigger salary cuts. So it's a tough one to keep people positive, let alone motivated. And I think the answer in our case is to talk to people individually as much as you can. They know the situation, but you explain to them more honestly, bear your heart out, see where the company is. Explain it is difficult to keep writing out paychecks and expense checks when your doors are closed and there's nobody walking into the hotels. So the key is engagement, engagement, and engagement. I forbid my teams from sending mails or SMS and WhatsApps on communicating situations and change of job position to people. So I've said to them, ideally the general manager, and if he can't do it all, then HODs and HR managers call up people and talk to them and explain to them what's going on. That's the only way to keep things positive. Other than bringing in cups of coffee into office spaces and talking to people. It's a disastrous situation. We're looking at an economy taking a huge beating. We have no relief in India, unlike other richer, wealthier Western nations, where if you lose money from your job or if you lose your job, you're still getting paid. This is a very different.
Yeah, we don't have social security like that.
We don't, and even if some of us have grown up in Nehruvian India with the socialist element to it, or Mrs. Gandhi's leaning on socialism, the fact is that in your heart there is a certain amount of fair play and socialism there, but at the end of the day, the checkbook's got to sing, and it can't if there's no money coming in. So we're going to see more difficult and more challenging situations. I have people coming and talking to me every day, saying, "Look, you've taken away part of my salary. I have parents to take care of, I have kids to take care of, I have mortgages, I have rentals," and you listen and you empathize and you try your best at making people feel good. But it's a tough haul, and I think we have to be committed to talking to people more and more and more. People at my end of the spectrum don't feel the pinch so much. Our jobs, honestly, our lives change somewhat, but don't change so dramatically. But somebody at the bottom of the pyramid's got to think of plain and simple of paying the rent and feeding his kids and putting them through school. So it is tough. It's going to get tougher, and I think we just need to maintain positivity and hope things get better faster.
So, yesterday there was this news that Government of India might be thinking about some kind of incentives or recovery plans for hospitality. What would your suggestions be to the government?
We have been pushing very actively, hotel associations along with the travel association, and actually we moved in tandem, perhaps for the first time in many, many years. So all of our commitment. The first thing we've asked for, we're still asking for, is give us 1 year of loan waiver. So if I got a 10-year loan, push it to 11 years. So 1 year I don't pay any loan, any interest, and that gives huge relief to our hotel owners, to young entrepreneurs. So that's a big thing from the center, and just one single ticket. That's what we're asking for. We got some deferrals from Reserve Bank, but those are more temporary and more principal, not interest. And to the states, in every single state in the country, we've knocked on doors and said, "Excuse me, my hotel's been shut. Why am I still paying license fees and property taxes and stuff like that? And can you give me waivers for 3 or 6 months for my licenses, for my liquor license fees?" And now we're saying, guys, if I have 20,000 square feet, I can't do 50 people on a banquet. Can you change that part? So those are the things we're asking states to do. Electricity demand on what to actually consume, not on connected demand, or not on minimum consumption. And I must say, a lot of chief ministers and states have come forward and helped us in that area. and said, and okay, what you're saying makes sense. So we hope more and more of that pervades across the country.
Yeah, I sincerely hope so, because the response has been, varying degrees of receptiveness and sensitivity across the states in India.
We appreciate that we are not a wealthy nation. It's not the easiest thing for the finance minister or the prime minister or a state chief minister to say, okay, let's wave this off. End of the day, money has to come from somewhere. They have to run their business too. So, but we are hopeful that we will see more in the coming days.
So we are nearly out of time, Mr. Bakaya. So I'll take some questions from the audience. We're getting a lot of. So,
Super.
with leading hotel chains having gone IPO, will Sarovar think about going public and raising cash by selling stocks at some time?
No, we're not looking at that route, primarily because we have enough reserves to do what we want to do, and we're not. If you go IPO, you must have plans where to put that money. And we've always in the past had equity investors coming in that we use to build hotels for ourselves. And right now we are part of a much larger European powerhouse. So no, we're not looking raising money in the IPO route.
So there is a question around that. How has the Louvre heritage, because in some cases Sarovar is far better known in this part of the world than Louvre, helped you, and how does that strengthen your position?
It's been a marriage which really could not have been better for both sides. It's been we're always apprehensive when you go into any new partnership, and they are majority owners now. I think they recognize the fact that Sarovar is a very strong brand, so they want us to grow the brand in addition to growing their brands. And in fact, priority has been given so far to Sarovar, and it's only now that we are looking at the Golden Tulip piece, and we want to make sure we do justice to the brand and build it as a really strong brand in India. That's our next mission. But the European powerhouse group, the Louvre, looks at this as a phenomenal opportunity to build in India. And they want us to strengthen the Sarovar brands rather than do anything to weaken them. So we will be developing both the Indian and the French brands in the market together. We could not have asked for more from the relationship. It's been a phenomenal relationship. We have huge amount of independence in running the business as we think it best in India. And they said to us from day one that we don't believe that European experts are going to run the hotel business in India any better. So great association, great relationship. Can't ask for more. Works very well for both sides.
Excellent. So, Mr. Bakaya, that brings us to our rapid fire round. Are you ready for some hot questions?
Sure. Go right ahead.
Excellent. So first question, Mr. Bakaya. This is more on the lighter and happier and positive note. Winning a World Cup cricket finals, winning a Grand Slam, or winning Tour de France? Which one would you choose?
Oh, the Grand Slam would have to stick out for me.
Any particular Grand Slam?
The French Open.
Roland Garros. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Water, wine, espresso, beer, whiskey. What's your drink of choice?
Espresso. Easily. I don't drink now.
Are you a night owl or an early riser?
Early riser, 4 a.m., 365 days. Always early.
I see this as a common thread amongst a lot of entrepreneurs prefer to start their day early.
Gives you a beautiful think time in the morning, and you're very, very effective that early in the morning. In my house, though, it works only for me. Nobody else wakes up at any decent hour.
Same here, and I prefer getting up early because my wife and my daughter are asleep, so it's my time that time.
Yeah, true. Works well.
So I know, Mr. Bakaya, you started traveling to visit your hotels, motivate the troops, meet guests. When travel starts opening up more, which would be the first holiday you would take? Which place would you go to?
If I had the choice and things open up, I would go to South America one more time, probably Argentina or even the Antarctic.
Very, very interesting choice. Indians still don't prefer going that far.
Yeah, it's a long distance and it's expensive air travel, so that keeps people away. But it's great once you get there.
So other than Sarovar, which is one hotel brand or a single hotel property which you really admire in the world and which you feel that is something they do very well?
I think the brand would have to be, for me, the Oberoi. I think I'm too steeped in that. I spent many, many years of my formative life, and I learned lots that I know today from that brand. So that would really need to stand out as the brand. Independent hotel, nothing immediately comes to my mind right now. But the brand Oberoi would stick out as the best.
Which is your favorite movie or song?
Favorite movie, Chariots of Fire, based around the Olympic Games. Favorite song, Zindagi Ka Safar. Back to the 60s or 70s, I think.
And it goes very well with the momentous life you've
Absolutely.
had, the impact you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you could be a comic superhero, who would it be and why?
Phantom. Because it beats up everyone else.
And that's been Sarovar's
Sarovar, but at an individual level, I would want to be the Phantom. I've always fantasized about this vaporizing gun. If I don't like somebody, just point the gun and he goes up into vapor. Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. We wish you discover those superpowers soon.
Thank you.
So, which is a great book which you have read any time in your life or recently, which is really struck you as something which you remember and think about?
The most recent one and a phenomenal one, I think, it's called The Ride of Your Life or The Ride of Your Lifetime by Robert Eager, which is based on the Walt Disney story. Lots and lots of learnings, lots and lots of life learnings in there. Superb one.
Excellent. I'll pick that up today.
Strongly recommended.
Mr. Bakaya, you're a cyclist, I believe. So, do you like doing long distances? And cycling is a solo sport. So, what do you really like about it?
Cycling came to me by default. I was a long distance runner, and then I developed injuries, so I had to move on to cycling because there's no impact. And yeah, I like long distance in pretty much everything. I'm happier over long distances, longer periods of time in everything in life. It's solo or maybe another one or two people with you, and it's best to have at least one other person with you for safety. It's just that you can move the bar. You can do more and more and a little bit more and a little faster. So I have in June done a couple of 100-kilometer rides, and I think it's a strong challenge. It's the next round, the next bar, the next bit of speed. It's a good adrenaline rush.
You've done the 8D Nilgiris, 2D Nilgiris as they call it.
Nilgiris, 1,000 kilometers. I would recommend it to any serious cyclist.
I've seen some, while researching, I was just looking at some of the videos. It seems pretty extreme. So it's almost like an endurance race.
It is probably the best organized sporting event in the country.
Wow.
As purely by people who are volunteering. So from the doctors and the ICU van to the guys who are going out at 1, 2, 3 in the morning to paint the roads as to which way to go and which way not to go, etc. To the bike riders who come up to you and say, do you want some water and snacks and everything, to physios. It is superbly organized from point of view of timing, etc. And a good 120 to 150 people, including doctors who are actually cycling. And overseas people, 20-30%, 20% ladies. It's brilliant. It's not as extreme as you might have seen it on the videos, but it is a strong challenge.
Thank you, Mr. Bakaya. I really enjoyed our conversation, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the audience for being patient with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, and have a great weekend. And we wish you and Sarovar all the best for the year ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks once again.